Hey, what's up? I'm Allie and welcome back to my channel. I love doing a summer TBR because summer tends to be the time of year that I read the most and I just feel really excited about reading. I tend to read from a variety of genres in the summer. I do like to make a TBR because it kind of keeps me a little bit on track. It is hard to make a TBR as a mood reader, but I figure I'm going to tell you about 10 of kind of like my top priority TBR books for the summer. There is a lot of horror on the list just because I've really been enjoying horror. I've been wanting to read more of it. So there is a good bit of horror, but there are a few other genres mixed in here. I have some video plans as well for the summer, so I didn't include books for those video plans. I definitely want to do another unhaul challenge, so I have to pull a challenge before I can do that. So I don't have a TBR for it yet, but there are a few like secret, not really secret, but like videos that I want to do that I don't want to give away too much just yet, just in case they don't work out. Talk about new releases because there are, I don't know, publishing just lets us eat in the summer. It's so good. One thing that is already out is Mayfly, and this has been on my radar for quite some time. And this is about Maeve, who is like a theme park princess during the day, but then she decides she's going to try on a bloodier persona. This is marked as gory horror, which is something I really enjoy, but I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, so I am excited about that. A book coming out a little bit later this month is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I've read a lot of other Riley Sager stuff, and we're kind of on the outs right now, so this might be like the solidifying book of whether or not I'm going to continue reading Riley Sager in the future. I am also reading this with my besties for our besties book club. So this is about a caregiver who is assigned to a girl who was thought to have slaughtered her whole family in like a Lizzie Borden situation. I keep saying girl, but I believe that she's an older woman now, and she is mute, she has had many strokes, and she also is a wheelchair user. And so she communicates through a typewriter, and she ends up writing out the story of what happened to her family, and that it wasn't her who killed them all, but there's much more to it than anyone else knows. On July 11th, The Beast You Are, which is a collection of short stories. I love short story collections. This one's by Paul Tremblay, so I'm really excited about this. I'm expecting all the ooky spooky stories in it, all the horror, so I'm hoping that this will be absolutely fantastic. And then July 18th has two things I'm really excited about. The first one is Camp Damascus. The moment they announced this by Chuck Tingle, his first foray into the horror genre, I was so excited. If those who don't know, Chuck Tingle is known for like writing these really weird, let's just put it, they're just really weird romance novels. And so this is his first trip into horror. This is about a gay conversion camp. There really wasn't a lot in the synopsis. It just says that they'll scare you to hell. And I'm just interested to see, because I do think this is going to be Chuck's first work into something more serious as well. His other stuff is definitely not that serious. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go. This is just such an intriguing thing to me. I need to see how well of a writer he is outside of like parodies. The Jasad Heir, and I might be pronouncing this incorrectly. This is an Egyptian inspired fantasy, and it is about the last heir of this kingdom. Her whole family has been destroyed. Her kingdom is kind of destroyed, and no one even knows that she has survived. But in order to rebuild her kingdom, she's going to have to work with her enemy. Oh yes, I'm hoping we get an enemies to lover romance in this, but they basically have to work together, the heir of the kingdom that destroyed hers, in order to regain and get her. She also wants revenge, so, you know, maybe she'll get that in there, maybe not, we'll see. I've been really on a fantasy kick. I've always loved fantasy, but I feel like I've been falling back in love with fantasy, especially adult fantasy, so I'm excited to hopefully continue that trend for this year of really successful adult fantasy reads. So then we have some of my backlist books, and a lot of these were kind of recently published, at least within like the past year or so, but they're ones that either I own and need to get to or ones that I have heard a lot about. So One of the first ones is Lessons in Chemistry, and I really want to read this because my best friend has like not stopped raving about this book. I think it has one of the worst cover designs that I've ever seen for selling a book of its type. Elizabeth, and this takes place in the 60s, and she is kind of fighting like the status quo of what women are expected to do, and she ends up falling for a Nobel nominated, very grudge beholding guy named Calvin, and he loves her for her brain. Unfortunately, years later, she is a single mother and finds herself a star on a cooking show where she uses some of her science knowledge in order to help women at home fight the status quo through cooking. This doesn't normally sound like something I would enjoy, but given the fact that everyone I've known has loved it, I want to give it a try. And then the rest are ones that I own that I need to get to. One of which is Daphne, and this is about a like serial killer myth of Daphne. It's like this urban legend that exists, and we follow a girl who is kind of interested in the legend, but then some of the school like team, some of the team members start being killed in the fashion of the serial killer. So she starts to investigate into the urban legend of Daphne, but what if Daphne is real? Also, My Heart is a Chainsaw. I started this last year, but then they announced it was going to be a trilogy, so I've kind of been holding off, but I think I could read My Heart is a Chainsaw as well as the sequel, which is like a Reaper something. A Reaper does a thing. Anyway, that one. So I do think it would be interesting to kind of read through the series. I think as I'm reading it, I could also make videos, kind of like a summary of them as well, so that when the third one comes out, I'll have something to reference. But this is about a girl who loves horror movies, horror culture, cult classics, all the things, and has this like unfathomable knowledge of these things, which comes very much in handy when someone goes on a killing spree and seems to be after her, and so she gets to use her horror movie knowledge in order to survive. That seems to be the gist that I've gotten. Seems really interesting. I think this will be a great summer read because I remember starting it last year, and I think it takes place at like a camp with a lake and stuff. So perfect summer setting. I'm sure it goes through other places, but that's where I remember it starting off at. Then we have one that has been on my TBR for years. This was a booktube classic, I feel like, back in the day, and I just haven't gotten around to it, and that's Night Film. This is an interesting book because I think it is told through different types of media and whatnot. So I can't think of what the word is off the top of my head right now, but it has like just scripts and letters and pictures and stuff. So Night Film is about this girl who is found dead, and though it's ruled a suicide, we follow an investigator who does not believe it was a suicide, and he starts to investigate it. Thing is, her father, the girl's father, is this renowned horror filmmaker who hasn't been seen for like 30 years. And so he starts digging into the secrets of this family and the filmmaker, and like his films are so dark and grotesque, but no one really knows much about the filmmaker himself. So it's about looking into that family and like this, I believe, the investigator's like obsession with finding out more and like what has actually transpired here and why did he go into hiding for all those years. So I've heard really good things about this over the years, and I think it'll be a fun time. As much as murder can be a fun time. And the last thing, I at least want to start this book. I don't know if I'll finish this book because this doesn't seem like a book that I will like binge read. I will likely read this in parts, but that is Entangled Life, and this is a book all about fungi. I've been really into fungi recently, especially because I love Sporer, which is mushroom horror, basically. It's my new favorite genre. So I've been wanting to learn more about fungi. I just love mushrooms in general as well. I love the aesthetic. And this is like all about that. And it's about how like they function and how they impact the world and stuff. So this is nonfiction, obviously, but I think it's beautiful and I would love to get started and just learn more. I love nature, especially nature nonfiction. Some of my favorite books have just been about like animals and nature and the climate and like things like that. So this is definitely something that I feel like I will enjoy. So hopefully I can get around to this. But I mean, like, oh my god, it's such a stunning book. So I continued my chemistry bio degree. I probably would have looked into fungi. Like, it's just fascinating what fungus does. So that is just a glimpse, I feel like, at my plans for summer reading. That's it. Hopefully I get to those things. Things change. I'm very much a mood reader, so sometimes it's hard to select something because I'll be feeling one mood when I'm making the TBR, but I might be feeling much different throughout the summer. Let me know some of the books that you want to read this summer or winter, depending on where you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!